Media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, Obscurians? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if they should be remembered for all of human history or tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve, and with me is a guy who looks cool, but he's actually a symbiote from another planet. It's
Yahel. How are you doing? I thought you were gonna say looks cool, but it's very high or something like that.
Hey,
it looks cool, calm, and collected, but he is struggling to keep it together.
I thought once one is high, it's no longer a struggle. You just are. I mean, that's pretty much like Snoop Dogg's way of living, isn't it?
Yes, but I don't know. He may be genetically predisposed to deal better than other people with the amount that he smokes. But yeah. I'm doing well, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be talking about comics again. One that's I get, obviously a character that's not very obscure, but who's going to go pick a random Christmas comic from the 80s to talk about?
Yeah.
We are. No one else. That's who.
I'm actually when I saw the writer, I was very excited to read it because I'm a big Peter David
me
fan.
too. What of his have you actually read?
I mean, a lot of comic books, and Steve, I hope maybe we should just dive into the what we're actually covering then in a little bit more detail. So this is issue of what is it, Peter
this is
Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man?
No, there's more than that. All right, this is...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
All-new, all-daring Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 112.
So, Steve, and then right under Spider-Man, it says, "You'd better watch out," as if though, is it also part of the title of
It's
this
not even
issue?
the name of, the story. They just put it on there because I think it kind of sits well with the cover itself. And speaking of the cover, you know what? Why don't we just dive into the Obscuritron so everyone can see what we're talking about?
Yeah,
All right, let's
yeah.
do this thing.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right, so there it is. If you're just a listener and not a viewer, you are missing out on an awesome cover, which is, I would say, probably part of the reason why we're covering this, because, I mean,
for sure.
It's basically a parody of Terminator 1. You've got Santa Claus here smoking a cigarette, which, did you know that in the post-Disney buyout of Marvel, that is the comics and the MCU, comic book characters are no longer allowed to smoke in the Marvel universe?
Really? I mean, I don't really think that matters. But no character ever.
No, you won't see
Not
Nick
even
Fury.
someone in the background.
You won't see Wolverine. No one smokes anymore in the Marvel universe.
It's fine. I mean, I don't think it's a big
No,
deal.
Yahel, you're wrong. It's just one of the ways Disney is ruining the Marvel universe
I
by
don't
making
think this
it
is one of the
smoke-free.
ways.
No, it's one of them.
I don't
Trust
think
me.
anybody cares.
Trust me. And
I don't think anybody should care.
If we go deeper, we're gonna find obvious QAnon references, just like with the Qbert episode. You wait, Yahel.
Yes. I see.
But anyway, what do you think of this cover? I mean, how badass is it?
It's a cool cover. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's really eye-catching and cool. Not often you see Santa. I love that they went to the extra trouble of not just Santa with a gun, but he also has these leather gloves with the knuckles cut out. like the cigarette, like you mentioned. So, and he's also doing like the eyebrow, like the Rock
Yeah.
who raises eyebrow.
All the people's eyebrow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's kind of curling up the left side of his lip a little bit, you know. So,
But it is
yeah, it's a cool
funny
cover.
because, all right, so this comic is indeed from the 80s. And yet, I mean, in the Terminator poster, I mean, obviously Arnold, who is a robot, is not smoking. But they just had to go one step further. They're like, man, parroting the Terminator, one of the like the best robots in cinematic history, it's not enough to make Santa look badass. We have to add a cigarette in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Just,
There you go. Well, you know, it's cold in the North Pole, so I assume that it just helps keep him warm, you know, Steve. And
right.
he's earned it. You know, I hear those elves are little dickheads. So.
Brilliant, brilliant. So yeah, jumping into the comic book here. As we said, this is the all-new, all-daring Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 112. And before we jump into the comic book too quickly, I'd just like to hear your thoughts, Mr. Velasquez, on Spidey himself. Like, do you consider yourself a Spider-Man guy? Help me out here.
I'm like a casual Spider-Man fan. I mean, at one point in the '90s, I did start to collect. Shoot, I don't remember which was the one that Mark Bagley was the artist on, because there were like 3 or 4 Spider-Man books at the same time.
Yeah.
I think he was doing the Amazing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I collected it for a little while, but I mean, I was never like a diehard per se. I do like the character.
Sure. I mean, it's Spidey. Everyone loves Spidey.
Yeah, and I like about half of the Spider-Man movies. So you know,
I hear that.
the last one I thought was really good, actually. I think
Let's-
with all the 3 Spider, I actually really liked it, man. I think it might be my favorite Marvel movie.
I mean, you like those better than the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies?
I mean, you know, it's hard to say because like the last Spider-Man movie couldn't exist without the Sam Raimi movies. But I don't know, man. Spider-Man 2 from Sam Raimi is really good.
I mean, I don't think they've ever made a better Spider-Man movie yet.
I would need to go back and watch it, but I guess one of the things I really liked about the last Spider-Man movie is that it made sitting through the ones with like Electro,
The
like all
Andrew
the super crappy
Garfield
Sony
ones. Yeah.
it kind of made it worth it for the jokes and stuff. So like at least it gave, you know, those 4 hours of my life that I spent on Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies have some kind of meaning.
All right. I mean, we can leave it at that for now.
So Steve, you loved it?
Are we talking about the comic or the?
Not enough cigarettes for you? Not enough guys smoking
Oh,
cigarettes?
I just
and
hated it because it was nothing but nostalgia bait. Like the plot was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like it made Doctor
Yeah.
Strange look like the dumbest guy in the MCU, and just
I don't think it made
the
it look dumb.
motivations is we have to change, what is it, change time or something, because my friends need to go to college and they know me. Like like you got to come up with something better than that. Like
You know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I get that the setup was not exactly the strongest. I definitely agree with you there. But to me, like, there was a lot of humor and heart, and like, I don't know, it looked like the actors were having a fun time, which to me always makes a movie more enjoyable to watch. So for me, like that and the performances were so good that I could look past the weak setup so that they could do all this other fun stuff. So I'm like,
I mean,
eh,
I can see that. I mean, obviously, I'm in the minority because it was one of like the most.
for once, Steve, you're finally a minority. You did it. Welcome to the club.
But when it comes to my likes and dislikes about the MCU, I usually am in the minority.
That's true,
So
that's very
whatever, it's an area that I'm used to being in. But yeah, getting back to Spider-Man and my thoughts. I mean, obviously he's a great character, and I've collected him on and off through the years. I remember I pretty much started reading when Maximum Carnage was going on, and thought it was awesome until I went back and reread it, and it's actually pretty terrible. And
That's what
Yeah.
I've heard. 'Cause I had when it first came out, I thought it was cool too, but you know, it was also like dumb teenager.
Right.
So.
I was a big fan of the Maximum Carnage Genesis game, music by Green Jelly / Jello. Did you ever play that one?
I did. One of the group chats I'm in with a few other like YouTube gaming content creators. There's an ongoing fight over Maximum Carnage and whether or not it's great or awful. That's just why I'm
I mean,
smiling.
it's a fun beat 'em up on the Genesis. Well, I mean, it's for the SNES too. I mean, what more could you want out of it? It is hard though. I remember it being hard, but
Yeah.
oh, well,
Yeah.
what?
But
So you like it? Which side do you fall on for?
it's been so long since I've played it, to be honest, that I suspect I thought it was at least okay because I generally remember the games that I despise. So I'm sure I didn't hate it. But I also don't. I'm also not like don't have like fond memories of it like I do. I don't know, Donkey Kong Country or something like that.
Right,
you know?
right. I hear you. Just in case anyone doesn't know, Spider-Man was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And who among Spider-Man's rogues gallery, or AKA his villains, who's your favorite Spider-Man villain?
You know, I really think that it depends on who's writing
Oh,
the
sure,
book.
sure.
I mean, so I don't have like a standout favorite. However, I mean, I do generally like, I would say, a good portion of like the Venom stories, and Doc Ock. I've always had a fondness for. But I can tell you which one I like. I've always been like, oh, that's lame. Is the Sandman.
Why do you find him so lame?
I just think being made of sand is kind of
Well, I
lame.
mean, you must really hate Hydro Man while you're on it, because he's just made of water.
Well, yeah, that's not good either.
I don't know. I always thought the Sandman was I mean, being made of sand, no one could grab you for the most part, except for when they first clashed, I guess, in Sandman's first appearance. I think Spider-Man pretty much defeats him by sucking him up in a vacuum. So that's pretty
Yeah.
lame.
I think you're right. But I mean, if nobody can grab you by that definition, doesn't it mean that he also can't grab anyone?
But he's able to, they explain it, he contracts his particles or something, his sand particles.
Is that like a sexual thing?
If you want to make it one, it can be. Yeah, it's weird to like sit back and think about who your favorite villain is, and then also tune out like the performances of the actors in the movie, because like
Right.
Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin is just fantastic, and of
Awesome.
course,
Yeah.
his name escapes me, but the guy who played Doc Ock, I'd say the Sam Raimi Doc Ock is way better than the Doc Ock in the comics, just because of his look and stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, the actor's name escapes me now, but he kills it.
Oh
as
yeah,
Doc Ock.
so good, so good.
He was really good in the Spider-Man movie that you
Yeah, I
hate,
mean,
think.
the actors were good. It's the script and the plot that I hated the most. But
Come, Steve, I know the real reason why you hate the movie, and it's because that rooftop scene with the three spider guys, the Spider Bros getting together and, giving Andrew Garfield a pep talk, and they're all like sharing their little spider stories. I know that you're just upset it made you cry, Steve.
it made me cry because I was like,
I know how you pride yourself on your toughness.
I was like,
and-
how could anyone buy
and-
this? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. They're just actors from a different movie, like all thrown into one movie, which I would say, that's pretty much never been done before. So they did do something different. But look what you did. You got me back on it again.
Let me ask you one question. Did you watch it in theaters or at home?
Man, I can't go to the theater anymore. Not until Blade grows up. I watched it at home.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that, by the way. Thank you for not taking your child out to the theater.
You're welcome.
At least for adult
You're
movies.
welcome.
But I watched it at home too. But because I just don't like
Yeah.
people in theaters.
Well, yeah,
in
they
theaters in
ruined the
particular.
theater experience, of course.
Yeah, a bar or whatever's fine. However, I will say that I looked up just out of curiosity, like Spider-Man reactions, because people will go and like film in the theaters or whatever. And when I can't remember. I think maybe Garfield. No. It's Tobey Maguire's the first of the other Spider-Man that shows up. Like the way people flipped out and like throughout like tons of like the reveals in the movie. I mean, like people had a great time.
Well,
Steve.
good for them. Like, see, I just don't
I just think you don't like to have
No,
fun,
it's not
Steve.
that. I
And
love to have fun. My favorite movie is Army of Darkness. It's one of the most fun movies ever made. No, it's more like, I mean, I guess I just see Spider-Man as one character, and I don't really care about it's the actors who. The way I look at it, I was like, Andrew Garfield had his chance to play Spider-Man, and those movies sucked. So why are we bringing him back? Like, I don't understand. But everyone is all, oh, he was my favorite, and I just don't care to see three Spider-Men by different actors interacting. I hate multiverse crap. Like, I hate it. It makes everything not mean anything, basically. And it kicked off the.
are you saying that you're not reading the new DC Dark Crisis?
Is that new? I mean, I swear there's a
I think so,
crisis
yeah.
event every year. But you know why they're doing that? Just as an aside, they're resetting the DC universe again. But anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yes, my favorite Spider-Man villain. I don't know if I'd say he's my favorite, but he's a guy that doesn't get a lot of play, and that's the Chameleon. I think the Chameleon is kind of cool.
Yeah, he is.
And then there's another guy. I mean, you said you like Venom. Of course, everyone likes Venom, but he's more at this point. He's more of an anti-hero. I mean, they turned him face.
Yeah, that's a good
long
point.
time ago.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that your choice is wrong. I mean, when he was a villain.
Yeah. No, you're 100%. You're totally right. I mean, I still read comics here and there, but I don't read it as much as I used to. And back when I was reading it regularly, like he was, still a straight up villain.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. He's definitely more of an anti-hero now. And sorry to cut you off, Steve, but I will say Dark Crisis. I am reading it. So it was recommended to me.
Okay. All right.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's been good.
I mean, they're
I have no doubt it's gonna be crap by the end. Just to be clear.
Well,
Steve. But right now,
well, supposedly, they're going to put everything back to normal. Like Superman's going to have his identity again, secret identity.
nah, they're gonna screw it up. They're 100%.
Well, hey, when you're done, maybe we should talk about it.
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So yeah, I guess we might as well. Oh yeah. So in case you can't realize or if you're not watching, then you probably can't see up in the left-hand corner that this is a Black Suit Spider-Man comic. And what are your thoughts on the Black Suit Spider-Man? Obviously, before the suit became Venom.
I really liked it. I thought that like he got the suit in Secret Wars,
He did.
though.
He did.
So, but this is not the symbiote suit.
No, it is. It is.
Oh, okay. I was confused because at one point he's got the suit just like laying on like a chair, and he says, "You used to be alive." And I'm
Yeah, I don't really. Man, there's a lot of like dialogue in here that I just have no idea what they're even referencing or talking about, which is what makes reading like a comic book from like 30, 40 years ago kind of fun because they do a lot of pop culture references and referencing other storylines.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going on. But I think at this point in like the Black Suit's history, they have no idea like that it's going to become Venom. It's just a suit that he wears that he got during Secret Wars. I mean, that'd be my guess. And then later, someone comes up with the idea to make it be an alien or something like that. I mean, that'd be my guess because for a while it was just a suit, like more or less.
Okay, yeah, because I don't remember. But to your original question, yeah, I always really liked the suit. I think Spider-Man, he's had like a few redesigns over the years, some like more drastic than others, but I think for the most part, like most of his suits have looked good. Like I can't really remember one that I was like, oh, that's totally hideous. Whereas Superman, he's had a million bad suits.
What's wrong? You don't like the blue Superman where
Blue and
bullets go?
red?
I mean, I actually thought that was kind of interesting, but yeah, I knew.
Of course you did. You're the one person that liked it.
I mean, I didn't say I liked it. I was just like, oh, well, that's different instead of just giving him a mullet after bringing him back from the dead.
Yeah. Oh, we have Smoke Monster here in the chat. Sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned that that's a great cover. Smoke Monster, just when you get a chance to let us know, what do you think about Maximum Carnage on the Genesis? Good game or bad game?
But
But anyway, Steve, let you get back to to your diatribe about your
No,
family.
no, we're talking about the black suit, and of course, I love
Oh
it
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. It was apparently Spidey wore it for 4 years, and until they made it into Venom. And in case you don't know who created that suit, I know you know, but the black costume originated in 1982 from an idea submitted by a 22-year-old fan, Randy Savage. No, it's Randy Schuler. After Marvel ran a competition for aspiring writers and artists to elicit new ideas for the Marvel Universe. And
Yeah, and they paid him,
yeah,
right?
I was about to say,
Like they bought it,
head
right?
editor in chief Jim Shooter bought it for $220.
Which I mean, if you think about it, like that's not terrible money, right? Because this is like in the
Right, no one
80s,
knew
like
that
mid 80s. So
it was going to be this iconic thing and become Venom. So it is what it
yeah,
is.
I wonder if this guy would have some kind of standing to like sue for more royalties or
Oh, I'm
something. But
sure they made him sign a ironclad contract because I mean, maybe you know this or maybe you don't, but the comic industry has been dicking over creators basically since its inception.
I am shocked to hear a corporation is doing something not right by their employees, especially creative. I have a hard time believing this, Steven. By the way, Smoke Monster said that it's 32x. I think he meant it's on the 32x, so it's automatically better than everything.
Maximum Carnage on the 32X?
I think there is a
Well,
32x version,
there
or maybe is that the one that they retitled?
no
Like they
the
it's a
one that's
same game but a
yeah, the
different
one that's
name.
on 32X is the just original regular Spider-Man game. It's not Maximum Carnage, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm gonna
Because
Google.
I had that original Genesis Spider-Man game, the one that's also on the Master System, and yeah, they retitled it and put it on the. No, wait, they put it on the Sega CD, and the one on 32X is a completely different game, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, the Sega CD one is yeah, the one on 32X is called Web of
Ah,
Fire. The Amazing Spider-Man Web of Fire. Yeah, Smoke Monster said, "Oh wait, I'm thinking of the other
Web
one."
of Fire. It just makes me want to do that. I don't know.
All right, wow.
So
So should we get into some of the? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're talking about how they paid this guy
yeah,
220
no,
bucks.
we
So I think that's
pretty
probably
much
like
wrapped.
800 bucks
Yeah,
or something.
we wrapped that. Yeah,
Today's
more or
money.
less. And I think we pretty much wrapped that up. And we were just talking about how creators have been getting screwed since the creation of the industry. Oh, one thing I wanted to add. Just yesterday, I was on the Cinema Store podcast, and I was hanging out with them in their.
I love how confidently you remembered their name.
Oh, it took me a minute to think of it. But I was hanging out with them in their pre-show. It's my first time meeting these guys, and I was like, "So, what are you guys? A couple of Marvel cucks or what?" And it turns out they were.
Wow.
But yeah, but we had a good chat, and they were good sports. So I'll definitely be linking that episode in the show notes. You should check it out. But anyway, back to the all-new, all-daring Peter Parker, it's Spectacular Spider-Man number 112. It was published in March of 1986, and the cover price is a whopping 75 cents. And that leads me to this question for you, Mr. Velasquez. Do you remember how much a Marvel comic was when you first started buying, like when you used your own money to purchase a comic?
I do. There were two different price points. I remember some were $1 and some were $1.25.
Same here. Wow, you nailed it. Good job.
Yeah. And then when the Image ones came out, they were $1.95 because they had all the glossy
Oh,
pages.
we talked
and
about how Image was, breaking the bank back then with their high prices, but totally worth it, especially for Brigade number 3. Sorry, Rob. Sorry. I didn't mean to insult one of your great creations. Sorry.
Hey, dude, Rob has given us years of entertainment.
The best.
I will not let you talk. I bought a pair of Levi's button fly jeans or I made my parents buy me a pair because of Mr.
I
Liefeld.
thought you just bought them yesterday. You were just reminiscing about one Rob Liefeld, and I need to get some Levi's button-up jeans.
You know, like those jeans, it was so funny though because I legit did have a pair, and when you had to go to the bathroom or whatever and take them off real quick, it was great because you could just like rip it like and the buttons would just go pop 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 pop. But then when you were done peeing and you needed to button them back up, then it was really annoying because you had to like button each one
Yeah.
slowly
And
and
then suddenly
carefully.
a voice comes from the little hole in the stall next to you, and they're like,
And you don't want to if you're uncircumcised button up your
and
foreskin
it's
by
Rob,
accident.
and he's
There's all
like, hey,
things
how
like
do you like the jeans?
that. But yeah. Anyways, what were we talking about
It,
before we went on this? Oh, the price of the
yeah.
comics. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like we were saying, totally worth it for Brigade and all the other Rob Liefeld and Image creations for their almost
Yeah.
double the price of a Marvel or DC comic. So some of the people behind this book include one Peter David, who Yahel mentioned at the top of the show. He is a
So,
I was
sorry, go
going to
ahead.
say he's still working today. He's most probably, I mean, he's worked on tons of stuff, but he's remembered for creating Spider Man 2099. Everyone loves Spider Man 2099. And he had a pretty legendary run on The Incredible Hulk and Captain Marvel and X Factor. And did you have something you wanted to add about one Peter David?
Yes, he wrote one of my favorite Star Trek books of all time, Q Squared. But he wrote a bunch of like he's written something like 48 Star Trek novels and 41 Star Trek comic books.
Nice.
Uh,
All right, shall I
so
run
yes, I was
it?
very excited to see his name. Run it. There's nobody else.
Ah! Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection! Ah!
Yeah, I think that might be our first comic book Star Trek crossover. Am I right?
I mean, as far as I know, I don't really like check when it's a comic book because I'm like, what's the
Right,
chance?
right.
But
No, no.
once I saw his name, I was like, oh, Peter David.
Yeah, I've actually read some of his original books. It's like a fantasy series called Apropos of Nothing, where he makes fun of the fantasy genre pretty hardcore, but it's also its own sort of a story. It's actually pretty good if anyone wants to check something like that out. But the penciler behind this and the cover, mind you, which I would say is probably the best thing about this book, is one
Yeah.
Mark Beecham, and he's basically worked for everyone. And I forgot to mention Peter David has basically worked for everyone as well. But he's worked for
Hmm.
Marvel, DC, Penthouse Comics with an X, and has drawn Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Moon Knight. What's your favorite Mark Beecham book?
Uh, this Santa one. It's pretty good. I don't know. I actually liked his art though.
No, he was good. Yeah, no
Yeah.
joke about it. It's just that it's just a name.
No, I've
I'm not
never heard of.
familiar
Yeah,
with
I
it.
know. I've never heard of him either. And I actually really liked the coloring in this book.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's
And
very nostalgic, I'd say.
yeah, it's like really well done. And I don't know, man. Like it's always like cool looking back at some of these older comics and the way they handled their colors. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, 'cause I think you would know better than I do. But still, in the '80s here, they're still kind of limited, right, to how many colors like they can do on a page or something like that, or do per book or something.
Absolutely right. Yeah, four colors. That's what they got.
Yeah. So you got to find different ways to like make the things you want to stand out while not making it obvious. And there's a panel in particular later where there's like an escalator, and the way that like they colored the escalator and the people there, and the way they colored out the other stuff that they want you to pay attention to, it just works so well without it looking like something is off or like they were having to cut corners or or have some kind of workaround. So, anyway, just wanted to mention that I really, really like the coloring in this.
Yeah, well said. Well, let's go ahead and jump into Spec Spidey 112. I gotta abbreviate it; it's so long. So basically, we got a splash page here of a almost mullet-headed. I guess he's supposed to be a teen. He's like pushing his way through a crowd here outside of a mall, And like there's like a lady he's pushing by, and she's going, "Hey, come back with that! Stop!" And that's actually Bambi. That's her actual name. And
Yep.
she's going to play into the story later. And so we're going to turn the page, and now we're I guess we're outside of the mall, or no, it's got to be inside because he's trying to make his way out. And yeah, he continues to push his way forward, and I guess we get a reference here to Federal Express, and he's like, "Oh, this package absolutely positively has to be there."
Yeah,
And
that used to kind of be their old slogan. I think it was like, when it absolutely positively has to be.
right, man.
As opposed, to those letters and packages you send, and yeah, it doesn't matter.
No,
if they get it
no,
or
no.
not.
Yeah,
You're just sending it for fun.
Yeah, that's what I told the shippers for Escape to Earth #1. I was like, if you can just get it to the guys who backed my crowdfunder, it's okay. Whatever. If it gets lost,
whatever.
who cares?
Who cares?
But yeah, so he continues to push his way through. For some reason, there's a lot of, almost all the women in here look like models in this. And by here, I mean this comic. They're all drawn
Yeah,
like.
the women are drawn. Look, there was a lot of attention paid to the way the women were drawn. Let's just put it that way, as we'll see.
Yeah, old Mark Beecham, he likes the ladies and the female form, if you will, which there's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, the dude pushes his way through. He finds like a side hallway to try to make his exit. And, there was one bit of dialogue here that, really, like, I don't know, felt like a Joss Whedon piece or something where he sees the entrance to the side mall or the side hallway or something, and he goes, "Ah," he said craftily, "a secret passage." It's like just weird self-referential. Like I don't even know what to call it, but I mean Peter David does, I would say, do that in his work, but here it just doesn't really work that well. But anyway, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that bit of dialogue?
Yeah, I thought it was like really weird too, to the point where like I was like, "Am I reading this?"
yeah.
But it's also a comic book from the mid '80s.
Sure.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, man. I feel like comics in the '70s and '80s. I haven't read a lot of stuff from like before the '70s. They can be really hard to read because of the, like, even if the story itself is good, like the plot or whatever, some of the dialogue sometimes it's so like cheesy.
Oh, yeah.
And but there were a lot more kids reading it than they are now, percentage wise.
Yeah, also very dialogue heavy. Like I tried reading like a What If #1. It's like features the Fantastic Four. I can't remember what's different, but man, I think it might even be a Stan Lee comic, and there was just so much. It's so dense. I feel like I'm reading a novel.
Yeah, it's not at all like I can't remember whatever Image book we read that it was like read it like in like 8 minutes. It was like very little dialogue.
Right.
Was it Shadowhawk?
I feel like Shadow.
No, I don't think it was that
I
But I just remember that there was one that we were like, God, there's like no dialogue here. And then we read Wetworks.
Oh
It
yeah,
was like during Image Month, and Wetworks was like, oh my God, they could not have written, like the penciler must have like gotten like rheumatoid arthritis from this issue.
But all right, so our teen here, our troubled teen, as he enters the side hallway and runs right into a spider web.
You think he's a teen?
I don't. That's what I just kept referring to him as. It's really hard to tell. I feel like he gets treated like a teen. What would you say? Early 20s, maybe?
I mean, yeah, I was thinking it was at least a guy in his 20s. Spider-Man does call him kid, but I think he's just
playing the
saying it as an insult.
Right.
Right.
And it's funny. He runs into it and he goes, "Yuck," which I don't know, it's cheesy, but whatever. And then, of course, Spider-Man in his black suit is hanging on the ceiling above, and he goes, "Oh, yuck. Is that any way to talk about custom-made webbing?" And the dude basically, he's like, "Oh, Spidey, can you give me a break, man? It's the day before Christmas. Like, can you let me go?" And he's like spinning lies about his mom being in the hospital and stuff. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I was getting choked up about the kid's mom.
Oh, I thought maybe you were thinking of the scene with the three spoons.
Oh, God. You want this to be the longest episode ever, don't you?
No.
So yeah, Spidey's like, no, I let a guy go once, referring to the guy who shot Uncle Ben, and he's been paying for it ever since, which I thought was
Yeah, I really like that. Great
yeah,
line.
Peter David's genius shining through. And Spidey notices a cop coming with the aforementioned Bambi from page 1. And then we turn the page, and basically Spidey just hightails it out of there to let the cop handle it. And the kid, or whatever, 20-year-old, he basically spins his same lies for Bambi. He says that his mom has something wrong with her clavicle. And here in like panel number 3, Bambi is like, her clavicle? Oh, the poor thing. It's like, she must be so stupid. But
Right.
and then the Bambi, she goes, oh, officer, let's just drop the whole thing. And then the policeman, God, who he's in the foreground here, is close up. He looks like the Thing almost, just like this beaten down cop from like the 40s or something.
Yeah.
And he says, a la Winnie the Pooh, oh, bother. and yeah, basically he...
No. He's not saying "oh bother." He's saying "oh, brother,"
oh, I see. Gosh, man, do I need...
like Hulk
oh,
Hogan.
brother. That's
There
much
you
better.
go. Now that's a ticket, Steven.
Oh, brother. And yeah, the kid sort of gropes Bambi's wrist, and then he speeds off, and she realizes that the kid stole her watch. And then in the last panel here, Peter Parker is in the lobby of the Daily Bugle, and he notices that their tree, which I guess last year had plenty of presents for, what do they call it? They call it the underprivileged, toys for underprivileged, which it should just be toys for tots, but I guess they didn't have the rights or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
He's like, oh, there's not enough under the tree this year. And then let's see. He runs in, turn the page, and he's running into this other reporter who I am not familiar with this character at all. Are you familiar with this Joy lady who looks suspiciously like Jem from Jem and the Holograms?
Oh, she does. No, I was not familiar with her at all. At first, I thought maybe she was going to be, God, what's the...
I know who you're talking about.
the other
Betty
11th
Brant. Betty
other
Brant, maybe.
What? No.
Okay, not Betty Brant.
Oh
the
my
Black
God.
Cat,
What's her
Felicia
name?
Hardy.
The other major love interest for Peter Parker.
Felicia Hardy.
That
Oh,
dies.
Gwen
He
Stacy.
couldn't
Gwen
say.
Stacy.
Gwen
Yeah.
Stacy, thank you. And I was like, what?
Yeah, well, Peter Parker, he's a player, I guess, and he's had many a supermodel-looking women over his time. And
Yeah. And Steve, sorry to interrupt, but just in the chat here, Smoke Monster we're talking about Shadowhawk, and he was saying, I was like, some of it holds up, some of it doesn't. He was saying that, asking, I assume there's some questionably PC stuff in it when I reflect on the plot. And I don't think so. There was nothing about Shadowhawk. It was just a little weird that, like, to have, like, a white guy writing some of this dialogue that where he was trying to, like, sound urban or make his character sound urban or something. So
yeah, it less has to do with his race, because, like, I think he was, like, Sicilian or something. But more just the fact that he was a little bit older and probably a little bit out of touch with how, people...
Right, so it also doesn't sound...
with how...
like the way
exactly. So
how anybody talks.
His street dialogue sounded like blaxploitation films from the 70s, is what we said. But
yeah, that's actually a great way to describe it. But no, nothing like where I was like, ooh, this is
no, definitely not.
Quite the opposite.
Yeah. You should check out that episode if you'd like to hear more. Getting back to the comic here, this I almost called her Jem, but this Joy lady, she plants a big old kiss on Peter Parker because he happens to be standing behind the mistletoe. And basically after that happens, Peter runs away because he can't. He doesn't know how to deal with a strong, sexually active woman in 1982, I guess, or 84, whatever this is. So he goes to, I guess, like the lady who hands out all the assignments at the Daily Bugle and asks for some work. And basically, she's like, "You're here when I don't need you, and you're not when I do. Why not get a beeper?"
Oh, brother.
Why not get a beeper so I can reach out to you, huh? And then this was a really weird panel. So Peter imagines himself with a beeper, and he's in the suit fighting Doc Ock. And he says, "Sorry, Doc Ock, gotta go. That's my beeper." And Doc Ock is, "I know what it is. We doctors have beepers too." And then the next frame next to that.
Which, I mean, admittedly, that is kind of funny.
It is. It is.
For those that don't know, in the 80s, in the mid to early 80s, usually if somebody had a beeper, it's because they were like a doctor.
Right.
Generally, like, it wasn't a thing where like just everybody had a beeper. They were expensive and you had to pay monthly, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, like, by the time the 90s hit, like, everybody, including kids, had beepers.
Right. But, especially the drug dealing ones.
Right. So at this point, so it's pretty funny how he's like, "I know, I know what it is. I have a doctor. I'm a doctor. I have a beeper too." When he's not exactly working at your local hospital.
Yeah, but and then there's a big X on the. It's like the exact same panel, but there's an X on it because I guess he decided it was a bad idea. Like this is weird. It feels like a Family Guy cutaway. Did Peter Parker create the Family Guy cutaway? Not Peter Parker. Peter David. Yeah.
And it was so weird because like usually like I didn't think he was imagining it at first. I thought he was like remembering something that really happened.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
Not clear that he's imagining it at first, and then you're like, and then he's got like a headache and a stomach ache. It's just very strange. He's holding his head and his stomach. It reminded me of like Steve. You know when you're like wrestling a match and you're kind of like you don't exactly remember what you're supposed to sell or what you were selling, so you just start like holding your stomach and just everything hurts. Everything hurts.
Way to go there, Peter. Yeah, I mean this is a very early Peter David comic, so he's probably still working out all the bugs here. But yeah, turning to the next page, we see Peter. He is calling, basically he's feeling like dejected at this point, although it's like, I don't know why you would feel down about not being able to get work, because I mean, he should probably be used to it at this point in his career, but it's supposed to add to him feeling down on Christmas, basically. So Peter says to himself, "Great, reporters don't need me, city editors don't need me. Aunt May, she always needs me. I'll give her a buzz." And he picks up a...
She's old and useless.
Yeah. She's a shut-in. I'll give her a buzz. So he calls her up, and basically she's in the middle of making Christmas dinner, and she's telling him how she's gonna hang out with Mary Jane's mom, basically, and it's gonna be just like old times. And this pot boils over, and I guess Peter, he feels like, oh, well, she's already got plans, so he hangs up. And then Aunt May thinks to herself, "Oh, odd, Peter didn't even give me a chance to invite him and Mary Jane over for Christmas Day to join Anna and me." That's Mary Jane's, I guess, aunt or mom. And he goes, "Well, he probably has his own plans, doesn't need to be stuck with two old fogies." And it's like, why not just call him back? Like,
yeah, I mean, and then I have another issue, similar issue later when we get to it. But,
right. Well, the thing is that what just played out here gets played out at least 2 or 3 more times with, I guess, the other people that Peter considers like friends in his life. And it's just all it's a little flimsy. Especially for
Pig
one
Dan's
Peter
here.
David. What's up, Pig Dan?
Said, "Oh, hey, it's Comic Club."
I mean, we don't really call it that, but maybe we should start. So turning the next page, basically Peter tries to once again find someone to spend Christmas with. So he asks Robbie. who I guess at this point he was the editor-in-chief at the Daily Bugle. He goes, "Say, Robbie, Mr. Editor-in-Chief, sir, what are you doing for Christmas tomorrow?" And basically, much like Aunt May, he launches into this, well, not really a diatribe, but he's just like, "Oh, my son Randy's coming home for Christmas. It'll be wonderful having the family together again. It's been so quiet with Randy off to college, blah, blah, blah." And then that secretary lady, she interrupts Robbie, and Peter just basically takes that as his cue to leave. And just as Robbie's about to turn around to invite Peter to join him, we see in the background Peter has already left, and he's web slinging away in full like black costume. So again, very similar to the last page, and Peter Parker's dejected, whatever. He doesn't have anyone to hang out with. Any comments about this page?
Peter Parker just won't let anybody finish their thoughts, basically. It's not that nobody wants to hang out with him. Peter Parker just won't stop leaving or ending the situation that's, hanging out.
Could it be that Peter Parker is just such a snowflake that whenever he hears somebody talking about the good time they're going to have, he just already assumes that he's not invited? I don't know. Not a snowflake. But
he doesn't want to stick around to hear the rejection.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's what Peter David is going for. I also think it's funny that right here they're in work, and Robbie's just lighting up a pipe just right there. But, it was the 80s. What can you do? So turning the page, we get another shot of black-suited Spider-Man. And the one problem, all right, there's a couple problems with this, but the one thing I hated probably the most about this issue is that there's a lot of people monologuing to themselves. And we definitely get a bit of that here. Spider-Man is web slinging where no one else is around, and he's like, "So now what, Mr. Parker? I could go home, I suppose. That is, if I can call a smoke-damaged cigar box home." I guess he's
there was like a fire at his apartment, because later he talks about MJ helping to clean the damage or something like that. I can't remember.
Right. So yeah, basically he and then he talks about how he has to wash the red and blue costume, because I guess there's a lot of like smoke damage to it or something.
Yeah.
And so as he's slinging, he slings over a school, and he looks down and he sees kids out there playing on the on the playground, and he says to himself, I don't know why they can't just do thought bubbles for this stuff, but he says to himself, "Ah, boy, if I could be down there like one of those carefree school kids," and I'm paraphrasing here, like they don't have like a care in the world. Or he says, "What problems could they ever had?" And then we're down there in the playground, and
and there's a kid getting beat up by his dad.
Yeah, but this is so weird. The thing
Merry
is
Christmas,
that
Steve.
Okay, let me get to the scene. And yeah, like, so basically he's telling his teacher that his dad sure was angry and like basically hurt him or whatever. And then the teacher's like, "Oh, you don't understand why, don't you? Or do you understand why, don't you, Alex? It's so your father won't be able to hurt you anymore." And little Bobby or Jimmy or he says, "I just fell down the stairs." Oh, his name is Alex. So, "Sure, Alex, I'm only your teacher, but I promise you, I started the proceedings against your folks, and I'm gonna see it through." And then the dad shows up, and Alex goes to him, and then this sinister dad is like, "I understand, sir, that you've begun some sort of illegal action against me. I suggest you stick to teaching, sir. And I'll be Alex's father, thank you. I might become nervous. If you show undue interest in my son, rumors might be started about you, and if you catch my drift, sir, and rumors can be so ugly." And then the poor teacher just looks completely dejected. So I
don't want people to think I'm a pedophile.
Right. God, I mean, you'd never get like stuff like this in a Marvel comic current day.
Yeah, it is kind of like ridiculous, because I mean, you can't just like be like, oh, yeah, no, this teacher wants my son, and people are gonna go, oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, I don't even think it's yeah, but all right. So the real question is why are these panels even here? Because this doesn't play into the story later, like I thought it might.
Right.
It's just like we're
My
yeah.
guess is that it leads into like some other issues or
Oh,
something.
okay. I was thinking they
'Cause,
just needed to fill up a page.
I mean, at too steep. Well, and the reason why I think it probably has something, it's setting something up for some other issue is just because in this issue they reference stuff that's happened previously a
Right.
lot, and I feel like they do it more so they did it more so in the 80s and 90s than they do now.
Yeah,
Um,
because everyone's
but anyways, yeah,
constantly restarting stuff over and over again. There's and it's
yeah.
all you got me started again. Anyway,
And we don't have, and we don't have the same attention. We're now with things like TikTok. We just don't pay attention.
sure, blame TikTok for all your
Follow us
problems.
on TikTok at Reptilian Media.
Yeah.
We're part of the
Brilliantly
problem.
done. And if you don't follow us, remember, rumors can be so ugly. All right, turn the page, and we are back inside the mall. And there is a young kid sitting on Santa's lap, telling him that he wants an Optimus Prime. I enjoyed hearing what this kid wanted because obviously this comic is from the '80s, and you and I were probably existing around this time, although very, very young. And he says he wants an Optimus Prime and a Raiders of the Lost Ark videotape so he could play it on his mom's new VCR. Oh, the nostalgia feels right there. Like, I just wish he would have asked for
Yeah.
a laser disc or maybe a ColecoVision. Like, that would have been.
I mean, this is 85, so this is when the Super Nintendo, the regular Nintendo came out to the
Yeah,
US.
yeah. I'm
So,
surprised that's not in here, but whatever.
but I think wasn't Marvel publishing Transformer comics at the time?
Yeah, yes, they were. So
So I'm assuming that that's why like they
well,
mentioned
well
that.
played, sir. Well played. So the kid's name is Jordan, and we get a close up of the most sinister looking Santa Claus you could possibly imagine. And he goes, "Remind old Santa, Jordy, what's your address? So I'll be sure to get you that tape." And I guess Jordan gives him the address, and Bambi from before comes to get Jordan. I guess she's a single mom. And this panel was funny. When Bambi shows up into frame, Santa goes, "That's your mother, Jordy?" And then he goes ahead and tells Santa her name, Bambi, and thanks for visiting Christmas. But I usually live with. So yeah, he's a child of divorce, basically. I don't know. I mean, I guess they
Yeah.
need to make sure there's no dad around for what happens later. And
Um, I I will say that I get well, first of all, Pig Dan wrote in the chat, Chris Criminal.
nice.
With a K. But anyways, it's funny because the Santa here is like a VCR, and Santa's like, "Oh shit, I need to go to the house and
Right.
steal that." So I looked up, Steve. I did a little bit of research on how much a VCR cost in 1985, and it could cost up to $400 for a VCR. So
And now
there
you can go
are.
to the local thrift store and pick up one for $1 or $2.
I don't know, man. It depends. Like VCRs are like much like CRT TVs. There's a market for them now, a niche market, and people are starting to sell them like more and more expensively, especially if like you go on
Yeah.
eBay and stuff. And I was just at a thrift store 2 weeks ago. I didn't see a single
Oh,
VCR.
well,
DVD players.
yeah, I want to
yes.
get one of those. Well, when I start collecting physical media again, once I move out of this apartment and into my massive house someday, uh, I want to get one of those Blu-ray players that also has a VCR deck attached to it. Have you ever seen those?
No, why don't you get one with an abacus attached to it?
Hey,
while you're
hey,
at
hey!
it, too?
There are things on VHS that have never been brought over to DVD or Blu-ray. Thank you.
I'm
Yeah.
just fucking with you, Steven. It's you go be the best old
Go.
man
Why
you
don't you
can.
go watch your goddamn Spider-Man with your 3 Spider-Men from different Spider-Man movies? Okay.
I thought you were gonna say something about Star Trek since it's in the future, but
All right. Moving on.
why don't you go read your Peter David novels with your technology from the future? Your
Hey, I bet
transporters from
Peter
the
David
21st
collects
century.
VHS, but moving on here. Basically, if you can't get the gist of what's going on in the page here, Jordan gave all of his information to a stranger, and he's in the last panel here. He's actually writing it down in his address book. We get a close up of Sinister Santa, and he says, "Bye, Jordan, and don't you worry, I won't forget a thing." And so over to the next page. We are back with Peter Parker. He's sitting around shirtless, for whatever reason, he's wearing his red and blue tights, and he's playing with
But just the pant legs.
And did he like start cleaning it and then decided he wanted to wear it? Like shouldn't it be the black pants?
I don't know. Right. Or, I don't know, jeans?
Yeah, boxers.
Shorts? Anything.
So anyway.
Yeah. Jockstrap?
Codpiece.
Maybe crotchless.
Assless chaps.
Yeah. Maybe like that. Yeah, exactly. You're getting it, Steve. What was that movie that Sean Connery was in? Xanadu?
Oh, yeah, the
Zardoz?
Mankini.
Maybe the outfit from Zardoz?
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, he's playing, I don't know, what do you even call those things? The ping pong ball attached to the paddle ball, whatever you want to call it. Because he's so bored. I'm sure there's no crimes in New York City that he could be averting. Instead, he's busy feeling bad for himself and just being bored.
There's no crime more violent or more needy of attention than the assault to his very
man, I
fragile ego.
never realized how emo Peter Parker was. Jeez. So the ball breaks and he's all figures, and he's like, I guess this is basically supposed to be like, if you have one of those bored days at home where you're trying to think of stuff to do, and he's sitting around, he's like, let's see, I can work on some more of the after fire cleanup that Mary Jane and I started, and he's like, I could do this and I can do that, and he goes, oh, I'll give my old buddy Harry Osborn a call. I wonder how he and Liz are doing with the new baby. And I don't ever remember Harry Osborn having a kid, but apparently
I don't either, but Pig Dan did mention in the comics that Harry Osborn got that drip haircut, which he indeed does.
And I don't know who Harry's wife here is, but man, is she a shapely woman?
The first of many shapely women that we'll see in this issue. Oh, well, no, she's like the second or third. No,
right,
she's like the fourth. Because there was the girl that got like robbed. There was Joy.
Bambi.
Bambi. And now Liz.
And so Harry's got his kid. The kid is already crying, and he picks up the phone, and Peter's once again sad sack Peter is trying to find someone to spend Christmas with. Harry can't hear him because his child is wailing uncontrollably, and basically he just gives up and hangs up basically. And he's like, "Oh, look, forget it, Harry. Talk to you later." And he's feeling bad. So what does he do here? And then he finally. This is so weird. He calls all these other people, and then he saves MJ for last.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. That made no sense, right? Because it's his girlfriend. So, which I kept thinking, like, are they broken up because of stuff like this and Joy earlier? But one thing I didn't think of that Pig Dan mentioned in the chat in reference to Harry Osborn, he said hair looking like a rich potato chip.
Man, it's true. The Osborns have the weirdest hair in the Marvel universe. I'm surprised.
But yeah, it makes like you.
What's up? I was gonna say I'm surprised Disney hasn't changed that too, because actually I think there was an article on CBR about the Osborn's hair being problematic, that somehow it's making fun of some sort of race or something. But obviously that's a big joke.
Yeah. But back to what you were saying. Yeah, it makes no sense that Spider-Man called all these other people and then MJ is the last one.
I don't know why you wouldn't call her first, especially since, once we turn the page here, we see MJ
as Dan put it, a comic
Yeah,
code
I mean, it might
violation.
as well be, and a safety code by. Oh wait, I get it now. At first I thought that was like a a hair curler, but clearly it's the shower head, and it's wrapped around her foot.
Yeah.
Like that's so weird.
That makes
I
no
think
sense
old Beecham here, he's
whatsoever.
got what is it called when you tie people up? An S&M fetish or something?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I was literally gonna say the same thing. He's definitely into getting tied up or tying people up, and hey, that's fine,
Yeah, hey,
baby.
whatever.
You know,
Yeah, we're not
get your
here
kinks off.
to
This is a
judge. Yeah,
weird.
this is Obscurity Now, where anything flies. Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is a weird way to let people know about it, but and I honestly didn't even know that. Now, when I saw this page and I saw the picture of MJ and Peter together on her, I don't. Wait a minute. Yeah, like her nightstand. This is not
Yeah.
right next to her bath. Anyways, I was like, oh, I guess they are together. Uh, so yeah, very weird. But yeah, Mary Jane, she's got like her legs like open. She's like sitting on the tub, and
You make it sound
you know,
like
her
more
legs are like
erotic than it
covering her
is,
boobs.
but it is erotic, especially for a Marvel comic in the '80s. I mean, I guess they were going for the 13 plus demographic here.
Yeah, and then even her face when she's like toweling off, like she's making this like almost like orgasmic.
Oh yeah, see
kind of
that's the
face.
funny thing about this whole like quote unquote scene. Okay, so first off, all right, so Peter calls and her answering machine picks up, and for whatever reason he doesn't leave a message, which is so stupid. I guess anything to keep up this sad sack Peter routine. And she even says to herself, "Oh, didn't want to leave a message. Oh well, easy come, easy go. I guess 3 hair washings is enough. Just want to be sure to look my best tomorrow morning when she goes to hang out with Peter and Aunt May and her mom, just like old times." And then it's like third to last frame where she gets up and then puts the towel around her, like her legs are in like complete view, and she goes, "I remember Pete once told me he actually put off meeting me because he was sure I'd be a real dog." And then we get that panel where she's looking like orgasmic, basically, and she says, "Silly boy." It's like, so I just wonder if Peter David was just like, okay, so I'm gonna mention this. Hey, Peter thought I was a dog, but you make sure you make it look as sexy as possible.
Dude, when she's like the first panel with her with a towel, she's like standing up like on her like tippy toes.
Yeah, yeah.
Why?
Because she's a properly groomed woman. That's why.
I have a
Yahel.
feeling I know why. It was so that they could kind of have her leaning forward a little bit and like to draw like shapelier calf muscles and like kind of have her ass like protruding a bit more.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So she finishes up the page basically with saying she hopes Aunt Anna remembers to tell May that she's coming tomorrow. Otherwise, May might forget because she's so old. And she says, "I've tried to call Pete, but first he wasn't home, and then the line's busy. Oh, he'll be there. What else has he got to do?" So moving along from this very sexy page, we get another sexy page.
Another very sexy page.
Yeah, so now Peter's at home taking selfies of himself. This is the very first instance of a selfie in 1984, and his line rings, and he picks up, and then it's Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat, and I guess she feels bad because she mentions earlier that they broke up, so I guess she couldn't take talking to Peter, and hangs up. And in the third panel here, she's wearing like a soft core porn style nightie. That once again is showing off the glutes and the legs, and is pretty low cut. And then basically she monologues to herself about how they were together, but then Peter broke it off. And she basically, through this monologue, she arrives to the idea that she should be the Black Cat again. So once again, we get a woman stripping down and showing, they just show her legs and like the nightie going around her ankles. And now she's in full Black Cat regalia, and she says the Black Cat prowls again. Is there anything I'm missing from this page?
No. I think you described the erotic nature of it very well, Steve. And in the chat, Smoke Monster said this is in reference to the Mary Jane page. I'm certainly turned on, and I think we all are.
Oh, you should see our Super Mario Brothers Super Show episode. I mean, like, people were popping off left and right.
It was.
You won't even be able to contain yourself.
The last few months, there's been just a lot of eroticism on this podcast. We've just become very sensual and erotic.
And yet the numbers never go up. Ignore that last remark. Okay, turning the page. I forgot about this. The Black Cat, very erotically, sort of jumps through the night as she does, kind of on patrol. She sees some thugs robbing like basically a coat emporium. Maybe we could I'd say it was a Men's Warehouse, but clearly...
Yeah, she said it's a mink coat store. This store only sells mink coats. It reminds me of a business called Batteries Plus. That's around here.
Right.
And I'm always like, how are you staying in business? And they actually recently, a few years ago, changed to Batteries Plus and More or something like that. And now they also sell like light bulbs.
Well, you got to diversify. Take it from wrestling with gaming. You got to diversify.
I feel like they have not diversified. I don't know that. Anyways.
Well, I mean, it's just like, sadly, I mean, that's what happened to comic book stores, right? It was all like comics at first, and then comics and trading cards, and now it's all those goddamn Funko Pops.
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah.
But anyway,
you know who got really good Funko Pops though?
Who?
Really nice ones were the 3 Spider-Men from the last Spider-Man movie.
Burn in hell, wrestling with gaming. Burn in hell. You're fired. So anyway.
But yeah, so she gets these guys that are like robbing the store. Mm-hmm. She decides to keep the coats for herself that they robbed.
Which I would say
does like an alarm.
That's a Black Cat thing to do. She's basically a Catwoman.
It's in character.
Yeah,
it's in character.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, what did you think about this shot we see though on the next page where she's like, so she sees like these women.
Wait. Can we back up real quick? I mean, we have to pay attention to the high levels of eroticism of the second to last panel, where she's kicking the dude, and it's weird. It's not. I guess they can't show like full contact or whatever. She's kicking a dude, like the dude is in the foreground. She's facing camera. I mean, it is basically a crotch shot.
Like an upskirt shot.
Yeah, it is. Like, and it's so well drawn. the detail.
Yeah, honestly, like the art, like in this whole book is really good. The women in particular are drawn very well.
And yet Peter Parker looks like the same Peter Parker from the 60s. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Like it's so funny. The drawing of Peter Parker during the selfie when he's in the lens looks really awful. It's actually the worst drawing in the whole book. Yet this picture, which should be very difficult to draw from an anatomical point of view, it's perfect. It's perfect.
It is.
But
absolutely.
I will say, Spider-Man is off because he's so limber and flexible. That's something that like is always like pointed out with him when he's like doing fights. He's also been in similar kinds of like shots.
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely.
But
however, just not in this book. It's all like all the best poses and detail are given to the ladies.
Yeah. I mean, hey, no problem.
Yeah, no complaints. All right, next page. You were okay. So I'll lead us up to it, and then you can take it. So basically, Felicia, she dispatches of these ne'er-do-wells. And then she notices some bag ladies, which I don't think we're...
Their words.
I don't think we're allowed to use that term anymore. And you got to love this, sort of classic... I think people complain about this shot on like movie posters now where It's a sort of like the Black Widow shot where her back is to camera. It's like so you can basically see her ass. Anyway,
Right.
so she decides to give the coats to the bag ladies and take it away.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much like already covered it, but even like in the panel before that, like the way she's like holding the coats and like kind of turning around, like hugging herself, and like again, her ass is very detailed once again in that shot. And one thing I noticed, Steve, that I assumed Black Cat wore boots. Doesn't she wear boots?
I thought that she would, but yeah, here.
Because
Okay.
you can see like her toes. And like the arch of her foot and everything. It looks like she's wearing socks the way he drew one of her feet.
Okay, you wanna hear my theory on what's going on? Like
I would love to hear
these poses are, probably from, a girly magazine or possibly a lingerie. So, whenever he wants to draw a woman, he's, thumbs through it and goes, that's what I'm gonna do, and then just, he just sketches it.
Well, I don't think the kicking one was in the lingerie magazine.
Yeah, probably not. maybe a martial arts magazine. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a good theory, and it wouldn't surprise me if you're right. My theory was just that he has a foot fetish.
Well, this is the only time we've seen feet, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, Mary Jane when she was in the tub.
Oh, yeah. Well said. I mean, I just think he's got a woman fetish, which is perfectly
just in
okay.
general. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, if she's wearing boots, we shouldn't see the outline of her like toes,
Right,
and, like,
right.
the arch of her, the ball of. Who cares?
I mean,
anyway, so yeah. So
I mean, I respect that theory. I just think that this particular pose is one that he took from a magazine, and like the feet were there. He just went ahead and drew them, and the colorist came in and colored over the feet, basically.
yeah, you could be right. Or it could be even the inker.
Right,
maybe
yeah,
added,
yeah,
like,
there you
toes.
go.
Maybe the ink. Oh yeah, the inker is the one with the foot.
Let's go with that.
All right, so
Yeah.
she decides basically like, hey, she feels bad because they're cold. They're trying to stay warm by like a trash can fire. So she decides that I'm gonna give them these mink coats that I retrieved from the bad guys.
Stolen property.
Right. So from there, she's kind of like decides that she's gonna be kind of like Robin Hood, steal from the rich, give to the poor, because she's like, I couldn't. Not being just being a do-gooder like wasn't working out for me, but I don't want to go back to crime, so this is like a good compromise,
Right.
which makes sense for her character.
Yep. So yeah, they make her a rogue, more or less, or anti-hero. Yeah, which I mean, I would say that's definitely the Black Cat. So yeah, she, the last panel here of the bag ladies wearing the jackets and her swinging away is pretty funny. So turning the page. We get another, I guess, the last of the Black Cat scene, and just her. At least now she's not monologuing to herself. She's just thinking about,
It's a thought bubble this time.
yeah, basically everything you just said. Yeah, she decides to be a Robin Hood type character. And now we are back with Sad Sack, emo boy, Peter Parker, incel Peter Parker. At least for this issue.
He is supremely unlikable.
Right,
in this
right.
issue, I will say.
He's looking in his fridge, and all he has is 2 cans of, do they say that it's Coke? Yeah, it's Coke.
Yeah, they say it's Coke.
Because he says he's got the classic Coke and not any of that new stuff, which is...
Yeah, for those that don't know, there was a thing called New Coke that Coke put out in the 80s. And if I remember it right, I was very young, it was just like way sweeter.
And everyone hated
and
it,
classic.
and that's when they started calling it Coke. They got rid of New Coke and just called it Coke Classic from there on out. And that's why I think this was the perfect comic for us to cover, just for weird little tidbits like that. And, of course, the eroticism. But moving on. So Peter, I guess the idea is that we're supposed to think that he finally has someone to hang out with. Maybe Mary Jane showed up. He has 2 cups in his hands, and he's coming by, and he's like, he keeps saying, oh, you can't count on anyone except yourself. And you might as well watch out for number 1, because there sure ain't anybody else watching out for you. There's no miracles on Christmas, nothing special. It's just another night. But at least you're here, the only one who never abandons me, even when I'd rather never see you again. Wait, what? Okay.
He talks like he's like been drinking scotch.
Right.
all
Well,
night.
of course, yeah. I mean, you're allowed to have, erotic women, but I guess you can't consume alcohol as a superhero, Marvel superhero in the '80s. And then in the last panel, you see that basically he poured the black suit a drink, and it's laid out on a like sort of a lazy boy recliner, as if it's a regular person. And then Peter takes a drink and he says, "I don't mind being lonely because with you, I'm never alone." And here's the weird line that Yahel mentioned earlier. He says, "You know, you were alive once, but then so was I." That's so melodramatic. My God. And he says, "Drink it up.
Yeah.
It'll get warm." And that's the last panel. Any more thoughts on everything that just happened there?
No. It's so fucking weird.
I know. Gosh, like
So Peter's like going crazy, and I've been there where you don't have a lot in your fridge. If you only have 2 cans of Coke, you only have 2 cans. You're not gonna be surprised when you open the fridge.
right. And you have to at least have a thing of baking soda in there. That just makes it all that funnier. But maybe they didn't start that gag back in the '80s. But yeah, so wow. I mean, Peter David really wants us to know that Peter is really struggling with being alone, or possibly being alone on Christmas. So we turn the page here, and now we get another sort of weird little subplot that never really, at least in this issue, doesn't lead to anything. And I'll just go over it real quick here. It's Robbie. He's calling his son at the airport, or rather the son called him, and his son's name is Randy, and he was like, "Hey, I'd hope you'd manage to get through, son. I know your flight snowed in at Pittsburgh, blah blah blah." And basically he messes up, Randy does, and it says "we," and his dad is like, you didn't mention you're bringing someone. And he says, "Well, maybe I'll bring my friend over. I'll let you know. Take care, Dad." And then that's when we're revealed. Ooh, and what a reveal that Randy, who is Robbie's African-American son, Robbie is African-American, and he's married to a white woman. Ooh, Marvel pushing the woke agenda in 1984. Oh, my God.
Man, it really is kind of interesting how even in 1985, Randy here says to his wife, "My folks are cool," because she wants him to let him know, hey, that you're married and like that it's a white girl, whatever. And he says, "My folks are cool, particularly Dad. He'll have no problem accepting it. Soon as I get the nerve to tell him."
Yeah, it was so weird. Like, if your dad's cool with it, like, what's your problem, Randy? Are you the racist? What's going on here?
Yeah. Like, Randy can't believe he married a white woman.
He's just he's afraid he's gonna wake up from the dream.
But I don't know. It's weird. Maybe he's lying to her about him being cool.
Right. And of course, Randy's wife is wait, is that her there in the? No, wait, that's again this.
No. But there are like 2 other like
supermodels,
sexily drawn women. Yeah.
She's wearing fishnets.
And it's funny, Steve, because like one of the first things that is said in this comic by the initial like thief is, "What's going on? Is there a supermodel convention in town?"
Right, I can only imagine. And because like I don't know if people are familiar with how comic books are made, but especially at Marvel, they would come up with the plot first and then give it to the the artist, and then they would get the book back and then they would fill in the dialogue. So I could only imagine that Peter David got the the drawings or the inks back, and he was like, "Oh man, look at all these hot chicks, let me put in a funny little reference to it or whatever." But moving on to the next page, we are now in it's weird. God, I can't believe they did this. All right, so Peter is sleeping alone. Hold on, let's wait for the helicopter. It's Airwolf this time.
Oh.
So all right, so now we get kind of like a funny little poem in the caption boxes. Peter Parker is sleeping Not alone, and not with any of the supermodels in the book. He's sleeping with a teddy bear that supposedly MJ gave him as a joke. And in the captions, it sort of plays out as a kind of night before Christmas kind of little poem. Bambi.
Did Peter bother to call MJ back
No, of course not.
today? No. Has she called him about Christmas plans? And it's like the day before Christmas. I think it's like a day or two before Christmas, and they still don't have their plans ironed out.
Right.
Okay. Just, very normal. Very normal.
So the captions say that Peter's sleeping, and then I guess there are other supermodel tenants in Peter's building because they mention Randy and Candy. So we got Randy, Candy, and Bambi. It's like, God.
Not to be confused with Robbie's son, Randy.
It's like, Peter David, man, what were you? How much coke were you on back then? But anyway.
I mean, because he just wanted it to rhyme, Randy, Candy, Bambi.
It's just so cheesy. But as you were saying,
I agree.
those classic comics can be cheesy. And it's funny, he says, all right, so I'm just going to go ahead and read these captions. So, our hero lay sleeping with Teddy in arm, a gag gift from MJ to keep him from harm. And next door to Peter, 'twas equally still, through a window now open, had let in a chill. Dear Randy and Candy both snoozed in their beds, with visions of Tom Selleck danced through their heads. Like, I just thought that was pretty hilarious. We get a Magnum P.I. reference. And so we see Bambi next door, sprawled out on the bed in a lingerie-style pose, maybe even a little more risque than lingerie. She's got her leg warmers on. Like, we can just, is she just wearing like workout aerobic attire?
Yeah, maybe she just didn't shower after the gym.
Oh, that's disgusting. Anyway, she thinks she hears young Alex like going out early to check out the gifts, and in the final panel here, she looks out and oh my goodness, it's the sinister Santa from the beginning of the book. He's pointing a gun right at her, and so he's like, "Surprise, ho ho ho!" And I don't know what your action would be, Yahel, but Bambi just goes, "I must be dreaming." Because who dreams about being held up and robbed from Santa Claus?
Well, as we saw earlier, she's not the brightest.
Yeah. I guess she's your sort of archetypal dumb blonde. I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but obviously that's what Peter David is going for.
That's what they wrote her as. Yeah.
So Santa goes, "Just stay against the wall and you won't get hurt." And she still keeps going on. A dream. That's it. I'm dreaming. Come on, Bambi. Wake up. Wake up. And this rouses Peter Parker's spider sense, which wakes him up immediately. And Bambi goes, "What do you want?" And then Santa Claus says, to spread Christmas cheer. Now and then Peter in full Spider-Man regalia bursts through the wall, Kool-Aid Man style, and he goes,
I think it's a window because there's a bunch of glass.
I see. It's still it's pretty funny.
I wish it would have been the wall.
Yeah,
Kool-Aid Man
that would have been funnier.
But he probably doesn't want to screw up his dude. He just had his apartment burned down. He doesn't want to make a giant hole in his wall.
If they have an attaching window in an apartment.
Well, I think the idea is he went outside.
I see it.
And
all
then
right. They were clear to lay it out here in Peter's room, and then I see the window there. Okay, all right.
But Steve, why wouldn't he just go to her front door?
Because this is way more dramatic. And this is emo.
And he is a drama queen.
Yeah. So he says.
Boy, I hope we get to see some more like women not wearing a lot of clothes. It's been a while.
I think you're about to get your wish. So Spider-Man says, "There you are. I finally found you. You promised me a bike 15 years ago, and you welched, you creep. You heard me. Where's my Schwinn?" I guess sort of classic Spider-Man quips, if you will. And so he goes, "And while you're at it, telling me about my bike, mind explaining how you got in here?" And I don't know why they felt a need to explain this, but young Alex shows up, and Santa is like, "Oh, Alex let me in. He's one of Santa's misguided helpers," which is so clunky.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, the aforementioned what was it, Candy and Randy, they show up wearing like Daisy Dukes and black wife beaters or halter tops or whatever you want to call them, and they're like, "What's going on in here?" So Spider-Man, what's happening? And he tries to. I guess there's a reason for them to be there, Yahel, because Spider-Man tries to capture the Sinister Santa. That's my name for him, by the way. Uh,
Oh, that's
he
good. I like
tries
that.
to web him, and then Randy and Candy get in the way. And once again, we get a, "Oh, yuck. Hey, don't hit me with that stuff." Do you think what's going on here in our minds is what's actually intended?
Steve, yes, because okay, yeah, it says webbing that he's shooting, Steve. However, as you have up on screen, it looks like right above his hand, like there's like just solid black
Oh, see,
sperm. It
that's
looks a little
that's
bit
a
like sperm.
spider sense, though.
I know it's a spider sense. I know it's a spider sense, but I'm just saying it also kind of looks
It
like
does. It
sperm.
really does.
Uh,
So I'm sure old Beecham here thought he was pulling one over on all the 13-year-olds who were reading this comic back in the day. But little did he know that in 2022, two 40-year-old adults with were going to be reading and dissecting his work. And then I don't really understand why this happened. Again, it could possibly just be filler. The landlord shows up and she's all, "What's going on in here? Spider-Man, I caught you hanging around my building once before. How dare you?" And then Spider-Man sort of does that classic, I don't know if I'd say classic, but I've seen it done in other action movies where he grabs her by the waist, picks her up, and moves her to the side so he could then pursue the Sinister Santa. And I don't know. Do you think there was a need to have the landlord burst in?
no, absolutely not. I think, like you said, I mean, they're just probably filling panels here because there's not a ton of story here. Or maybe they just thought it'd be funny.
More
Or
unfunny
whatever.
Peter David stuff from the 80s. All
Yeah,
right, turning the
yeah.
page, we see.
Now, Steve, I will say, obviously, Mark Beecham thought he was drawing Black Cat or something initially here because Spider-Man's ass right there, like a thick and
Yeah,
juicy.
yes, it does. Yes, it does. And so basically, Spidey is pursuing the Sinister Santa up a stairwell. There's a thought bubble above Santa, and he says, "I've almost made it to the rooftop door. Maybe I can lock it behind me." Which, I mean, Spider-Man has the proportional strength of a spider, so he'd easily be able to burst through it, no problem. But whatever. Obviously, Sinister Santa is getting desperate at this point. Like all of the appliances he stole from Bambi, including that cherry VCR we were talking about, is falling down the steps. Clunk, clunk.
Yeah, they're all getting broken.
Like, no, we need that.
Good job,
We need that
Spider-Man.
VCR in 2022 because they're not making them anymore. Come on. Uh, so we get a close up of Santa, like looking freaked out. He says, "I made it, and then he goes, "No, no, it's not possible." And then in the next panel, Santa bursts through the rooftop door, and then slightly in silhouette off to the left is what we can only assume is the real Santa. And he's saying to himself, and again, this is a reference that I have no idea what they're referencing. He goes, last year it was slasher films, now it's this. Oh, actually, I think I have an idea of what that reference is, but I'll keep going. He says, "I'm not."
Well, I mean, isn't Santa Claus though like an actual Marvel
I think I
character?
heard that before, that he is canon, part of the Marvel Comics universe.
Yeah, Earth 616. Yeah, Santa Claus is a
Wow.
character.
But the thing that he's referencing, I believe, is the release of the now classic Silent Night, Deadly Night. Have you ever? Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Because
yeah,
that
yeah.
was a big controversy back in the day when that came out. And I could see Peter David doing one of his nerdy references to it. But anyway, Spider-Man shows up and he says, "All right, Kringle, here's where we put coal in your stockings." Chris? Chris? Ah, son of a gun. He's gone. And actually, I guess both of them are gone. Then we cut to the next page, and did you have anything to add before we jump to the next page?
No.
Okay.
Please go ahead. I will say Santa Claus has been a Marvel character since 1954, like in canon.
That is
Santa
awesome.
Claus.
That's awesome. And I bet they won't be bringing him back anytime soon because he's problematic or something. I don't know. So anyway, we are in the next day. A phone rings, rousing one Peter Parker, and it's weird. The lady from the Daily Bugle, seen here once again dressed in workout attire. Or we can just assume that she's sleeping with a football player because she's wearing like a football jersey.
She's wearing like a football jersey.
I mean, that lady Catherine, man, she gets around. She has an assignment for Peter Parker on Christmas Day. I mean, and they try to write it off where Peter's like, "You're working on Christmas?" But she says she's at home, but you're going to the office, or at least to the lobby. They found the Bugle Santa Claus, the one who's supposed to give out the presents this morning, locked in a storage closet. And then Parker is like, "Oh, and someone stole all the presents?" Hardly, but by the time our man was let out, someone had taken his place. And then we see, we're in the fourth panel here, and basically it's revealed that it's the sinister Santa. He's now a good Santa. Like, what happened here? Can you even? Well, actually, let me finish the.
I guess the real Santa gave him a lobotomy of some sort.
He filled him with Christmas cheer, aka he threatened him. I guess told him to. He said, "You better straighten up, or he's gonna let the chainsaw reindeer out on him." Remember that? Remember that from last year?
I got it.
So Parker
maybe some of his powers include I don't know, brainwashing.
He scared
people.
him straight, is what he did.
Ho,
motherfucker! If you don't straighten up, you're gonna end up in prison. But yeah, basically this. I guess the security guard at the cop at the mall tells Peter that this Santa, his loot's sitting over there, but he's handing out new toys, and by new toys he means handmade wooden toys, stuffed animals, beautiful. Besides, he called us up, told us he'd be here. It's the darndest thing I ever saw. So the idea is that the regular Santa who's supposed to be at the Bugle was stuffed in a storage locker. Then Sinister Santa, who's no longer sinister, took his place, but then gave the loot back, but then he took the toys that was given to him by the real Santa and is now giving it out to kids at the...
Right. Like, he now works for Santa,
the real deal. And here's another thing. The craziness just continues. So Peter was staring him down, and Santa goes, "Oh, you want to take my picture? You must be Peter." Like, how would he even know that that's Peter? I guess unless the real Santa told him. And Peter's all like, yeah. He's like, "You're suspicious. I can't blame you, but I've changed." And it's so hard to read. And as
proof, here's a message a friend asked me to pass on to
me. But what? And he goes, "Ho, ho, ho." And it's a message that says, "Call your aunt. Merry Christmas." And so we then see...
Like, was Peter not going to call, like, his one surviving family member on Christmas Day? had a stranger that used to be a Santa thief and, robbed a child and woman at gunpoint the night before. If this person hadn't told him to call his aunt, he would have done it on Christmas.
I know. It's like we went through all that just so he could get a note that says, "Call your aunt." Like, it's so ridiculous.
Well, Steve, to quote the Arrested Development episode, peer pressure, and that's why you always leave a note.
There you go. Wow.
I don't know if you've ever seen it. But
I've seen all the Arrested Development. That's a good reference.
It's the one with the lessons, the episodes where J. Walter Weatherman, the guy with the one arm, is teaching them all lessons. Go watch it. It's a season 1 episode.
All right. Will do, sir. Will do. Okay, so now we get a heartwarming panel here of Peter sitting next to Mary Jane and Aunt May and Anna Watson, that's her name. They're all basically having a Christmas dinner. I remember there was something funny here before we got to the last page. Let me see if I wrote it down.
I mean, Mary Jane implies that she's
Yes,
going to fuck
that's
Peter
it.
to relax
So the
him.
eroticism continues. Okay, the next panel is basically an outside shot of this. They're at Aunt May's, right? It's oh, MJ, it's just that I don't know. I feel like something's wrong. And MJ is all like, that's your problem, Pete. You don't know how to relax, but I'll relax you. And so obviously she.
Right in front of Aunt May and her other elderly friend, who I guess is like related to MJ.
Exactly. So obviously, MJ performs some sort of sex act. And then, if that weren't weird enough, there's like two thugs. They're off camera.
Yeah, we only see their hands.
One of them is holding a very large knife, not very detailed knife. If only they could take the detail that he put in drawing people's asses into drawing knives, then this.
I was just gonna say maybe that knife had a nice ass on it. Mark Beecham would
right.
Sent a little
right. And one of the thugs says, "Forget it, man. We'll do it another day. He won't get away." And then the last panel is just a black panel with all the credits in it, and it says Merry Christmas. Does it say Merry Christmas? No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
anyway.
And a very Merry Christmas from the mighty Marvel Boy.
There it is. Yes, thank you. And that is the end of hold on. So I got a very long Peter Parker.
Take a deep breath.
The all new, all different Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 112.
I mean, I will say it was different than any other Spider-Man issue I've ever read. So.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, let's run the bumper and figure this out. Okay, here we go.
Remember, you're rated. That's the question.
Whew. Wow, what an adventure. All right, so let me get it back to the cover here. There we go. Man, that's an awesome cover. All right, the all-new, all-daring, spectacular Yahel Velasquez. Do you think that Spectacular Spider-Man 112 should be tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again, or reread Christmas after Christmas until the end of humanity just dies off?
I think I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to say that this should be remembered. It's so like weird and dumb. Yeah, I'm going to say remember. It's a fun read. At times disconcerting, but always erotic. What about you, Steve?
See,
what do you say?
we need to put the sex back in Christmas, is what I'm trying to say here.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I was going to say, like, all right, even if you thought the story was ridiculous and throwaway, I mean, it's worth picking up a copy just for the cover. And, if I saw this in a dollar bin, I would definitely pick it up. So, and yeah, it's the story is, I mean, it's sort of like your just sort of classic comics, just randomly in continuity, so you have no idea what they're talking about. They're referencing stuff that's going on in the era. So if you want to be transported to Christmas in like 1984 or 85, whatever year it was, like, this is how you do it, by getting yourself a copy of the all new, all daring Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And also, I would say it's significant because it's early Peter David. And it shows that even a genius like him had to start somewhere. Without further ado, wait, it's up here. You will be,
in accordance to Obscurity Now, the most important streaming YouTube podcast in all of the internet, you shall be remembered. Yes. Good show. Good show.
The only thing I will say is that it's just too bad there's not really a way to, well, there is a way. There's not really a way to enjoy
this comic like with friends and like alcohol and or mind-bending substances.
Right.
Like if someone came along and made like a motion comic, or you know how people do like comic dubs on YouTube, like then like a group of people could sit around and really have a good time with Spider-Man number 112. So anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
No, Smoke Monster did say to reach out to him if we ever cover his boy Agent Liberty. But yeah, this was a weird comic book.
What,
it was a fun
what is
read.
Agent Liberty? Oh, is that a Marvel? That's not a Marvel comic. That sounds familiar. What is Agent Liberty? I'm curious.
I think it's a DC.
Oh, okay. Hey, I mean, sounds obscure enough for this show.
But
yeah.
I will say next week we're correct me if I'm wrong, we'll be doing Saved by the Bell. The episode, if anybody wants to watch it ahead of time, it's probably the only time we'll cover Saved by the Bell, because I wouldn't say it's super obscure, but it's going to be from the original series, season 3, episode 24, Home for Christmas, which I just noticed is a 2-parter.
Oh, that means twice the amount of work. I was going to suggest that you actually do the walkthrough. I mean,
we could each do one part.
Yeah. That's actually a good idea.
Yeah, we'll figure this out offline.
No, people want to hear this, the behind the scenes stuff. This is what they want. That and erotic women in Spider-Man comics.
Well, yes, obviously, Steve.
All right. Yeah, that we will see you next time for Saved by the Bell, and also the Kickstarter for Escape to Earth. Actually, it's currently in Indiegogo, but I think I'm going to switch back to Kickstarter because I think that was a stupid idea to switch crowdfunding campaigns. But if you get there fast enough and contribute money, then I won't be able to delete it. So check out the crowdfunding campaign on Indiegogo for Escape to Earth issue 2. And stay tuned for a promo of Escape to Earth if you don't know what that is. And we will see you next Sunday as we continue to unearth even more obscure media only on Obscurity Now. See you then. I'm having a weird day. The name's Adam. Where I'm from, I'm known as the Zero Thief. Depending on who you ask, some might say I'm the best thief. But believe it or not, even the best screws up every once in a while, and that's what I did, and I had to make a fast getaway. I ended up crash landing on this bizarre planet. Turns out, I didn't get away fast enough. These winged freaks followed me here.
It's just us here, Zero Thief, on this empty backwoods planet. So start talking, either to me or my blade.
Okay, I do have something to tell you. It's about the planet. It's not that empty. Come on, man. I thought you were gonna duck. Cut me loose. Cut me loose. Behind you. Whoa. Thought I was done for. It was gonna be a light snack for a snarling creature. But then, she showed up, riding on the back of one of those monsters like it was nothing. And with a wave of her hand, the other razor-toothed beast just stomped away. I'd never seen anyone like her before in my life. I thought I'd say something clever. Thanks, have you seen my ship? She gave me a look that said more than words ever could, because I think she was trying to read my mind or something. And from there, things just got even weirder. Escape to Earth. 36 pages of insane dinosaur action. Issue 1 available now at reptilianmedia.bigcartel.com. Featuring a variant cover by Sean Forney. Act now while supplies last. You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links if that's what you're into. I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.